Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
WYPR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Tom at WYPR. Can you hear me?
Hey, Tom, I hear you loud and clear.
Great, thanks. On 88.1, it's Maryland Morning with Sheila Cast. I'm Tom Hall. Since the end of May, Cockeysville native Reid Wiseman has been living and working on the International Space Station, about 200 miles above the Earth. He'll be there for about 4 more months. We talked to him right before he launched into space in the spring, and on Wednesday, we caught up with Commander Wiseman from the International Space Station. It's good to talk to you again, sir. How you doing?
Oh, I'm always good when I'm talking to people from Maryland. It's great to be with you this morning.
Great to have you here. So now you're traveling at just under 5 miles per second, about 17,000 miles an hour. How long does it take you to orbit the planet?
So we lap the Earth once every 90 minutes. So that gives us about 16 sunrises and sunsets each day.
And how do you even keep track of daytime, nighttime? I mean, how do you work that out in terms of your sleep schedule and your work schedule?
Well, sure. When we're inside, if you're not looking out the window, you can definitely lose track of day and night. But we work based on Greenwich Mean Time, and we work a regular day. So I wake up around 6:30 in the morning, start the workday about 7:30, and then we wrap up around 7:30 at night and have a little bit of time for pre-sleep, and then I'm off to bed around 10 p.m.
So you have taken some really beautiful photographs and sent some beautiful video on your Twitter account, your Vine account, and you've got about 200,000 followers here on Earth. You've been looking at the Earth from this amazing perspective for the last couple of months. Has your view of life on Earth evolved and changed at all since you've been up there?
That's a great question, and no one's really asked me that yet. I would say it has in many ways. First of all, our planet is amazingly beautiful and way more complex and dynamic than I ever imagined. And the thing that I think really strikes me is the night passes, and if you are over land, almost entirely you see lights and you see humans, you see civilization down there, and really it just brings home to me that our planet's actually pretty small when you come down to it. 90 minutes to lap our planet, and it really looks small from up here.
I wonder, and forgive me if this is too personal a question, but are you lonely?
No, that's definitely a great question. Not lonely at all. I'm flying up here with 5 of my best friends, 3 Russians, a German, and another American. And we really have a good time. We all get along. We like sports. We have similar tastes in what we want to do, and we have a great time.
You are a decorated fighter pilot. You've been deployed, I guess, 5 times. Is that right?
Well, I think I lost count. And we should tack this one on as a deployment as well. So we'll call it 6.
Yeah, and I just wonder, I mean, how does this deployment compare with your other military deployments in terms of, missing your family, your wife, you have 2 kids, that kind of stuff? How does it compare?
Well, it may not seem too logical, but my connectivity from up here, thanks to the good folks at NASA on the ground, is fantastic. So I actually get to talk to my wife and kids once a week, and that's really a great morale booster. And then our email has been really good. We have real-time email now, as long as we have a good satellite link. So I get a couple emails a day. My wife's been sending me pictures and little video clips of the kids. So I stay in touch, and it's really nice.
That's terrific. On 88.1, it's Maryland Morning. I'm Tom Hall. Astronaut Reid Wiseman joins me from the International Space Station. So, Commander, this is your first time in space. You've been up there for a little more than 2 months. Can you remember what you thought it would be like and how that's compared to what it's actually like?
Oh, sure. Before you launch, this has been a dream of mine, essentially my whole life that I can remember. And so you build it up a lot in your head, a lot. And you don't expect that there's any way it could live up to your expectations. And then when the engine's cut off on your rocket and you're floating for the first time, you realize, first, the Earth is way more beautiful than you ever expected when you look out the window. But second, that living and working up here, at least initially, is way harder than you ever dreamed. So just turning off gravity, my whole world was twisted upside down. And it took me at least a few weeks before I was comfortable up here.
What's the biggest part of the adjustment to being in a weightless environment?
being weightless, just waiting for your body to figure it out. Your brain needs time to understand that there isn't a floor, a ceiling, and two walls. It's just all surfaces. And then your digestive system, how do you eat, how do you go to the bathroom, and you just got to wrap your body around all that. And eventually it figures it out. It took me about 2 solid weeks, and then everything started to run like clockwork.
Yours was the first team to dock as quickly as it did. You were actually docked at the ISS about 6 hours or so after you launched from Kazakhstan. Can you walk us through that maneuver? That's the first time that that's happened. My impression is that previous flights had taken as many as 2 days to catch up with the ISS.
Well, sure. One small correction. We were, I think, maybe the third or fourth crew to do this, but it is really new. We've only been doing it for about the last year and a half. And so launch happens basically in the middle of the night out of Baikonur in Kazakhstan, and then it's 6 hours, and it's just go, go, go until you get to the space station. So by the time we got here, I think all three of us were exhausted, and it's funny to note the first thing that was said when we got onto the space station is, "Where's the bathroom? Because we got to go bad."
And what kind of work? What is the specific work that you're charged with yourself on the space station?
Well, I'm not sure if you can see on the video downlink right now, but basically I'm a run-of-the-mill flight engineer. I'm standing in the U.S. lab. It's absolutely covered in science experiments. I'm standing right next to Robonaut, a great robot we have up here. So my main tasks are, first, keep my body in shape, so I'm working out about 2 hours a day. Second main task is keep the space station running clean and correct. So maintenance is a huge priority for us. And then third, and really our highest priority as an organization, is conducting the science up here. And we've been hot and heavy on science for the last 2 months.
You were scheduled to do a spacewalk in just a couple of weeks on the 21st of August. That's been postponed. Why has it been postponed? And do you have a sense of when it will be rescheduled?
Well, sadly, it has been postponed, and they figured out that there's an issue with our batteries in our spacesuits. And so I think it's awesome that Mission Control down in Houston decided to push these off. Of course, I'm a little sad about that, but when I go out the door, I wanted it to be in a good, clean configuration. And so we're hoping right now maybe early to mid-October we may be able to reschedule these. But in reality, when the suits are ready, we'll do the spacewalks. And if it's not our crew, then it'll be the next or maybe the crew after that. And in the meantime, the station's in a great configuration and everything's running smooth.
And you are actually training for that spacewalk as you're up in space on the ISS. You sent a tweet about a laptop simulator. How's that training going?
Well, unfortunately, now the training is pretty much stopped, so we kind of cleaned up what we were doing. But the training up here is really fascinating. We have a laptop that we can wear on our head, like you were mentioning, and it gives us a 3D view of the space station. It uses a little webcam, actually. Very simple technology, but very effective. So wherever I was looking, I was actually seeing an image outside the space station, and I was able to maneuver to the different work sites, look around, see what would be a danger, what would be easy, what would be hard. So for me, it was really fantastic training. And I was working with a gentleman, our commander, Steve Swanson, who's done many spacewalks. So to have a veteran like him at my side helping me out was just fantastic.
And when you eventually get outside the space craft for your spacewalk, what will you be doing specifically?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is change out a sequential shunting unit, which is part of our solar array system, which provides energy for everything that we have inside. It's all based on solar power, of course. So that one of our components on one of our 8 arrays failed a few months ago, and that's our primary task, is to fix that. And then after that, we're going to do some basic reconfiguration work, basically reassembling the furniture outside so that we can have crewed vehicles launching from U.S. soil in 2017 and come dock with the International Space Station.
Well, it really sounds terrific. And Commander Wiseman, I really appreciate your time, and we look forward to catching up with you again during your incredible historic journey on the ISS. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Reid Wiseman, he's a Cockeysville native and an astronaut who joined us from the International Space Station. We've got a link to Commander Wiseman's Twitter feed on our website, WYPR.org/Maryland Morning. I'm Tom Hall. Don't space out on us. Lots more ahead on Maryland Morning with Sheila Cass. Stay with us.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WYPR portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Maryland Public Television.
Station, this is Maryland Public Television. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear. How about me?
Read loud and clear. This is Jeff Salkin in Owings Mills. Thank you very much for the time. We'll take most of the 10 minutes. We try to have fun and feel free to go off on tangents here. And I'll begin by saying, Commander, thank you for speaking with us.
Jeff, it's great to speak to you. And Owings Mills, that's right down the street from where I grew up, so it's great to know that's where you are right now. It's a pleasure to be talking to folks in Maryland.
I have to ask, do you wear that Orioles jersey every day up there?
You know, lately it's been pretty good to be an Orioles fan, so I keep it handy for events like this, and on the weekends I certainly bring it out.
I guess in space, nobody can hear you cheer. That's the problem. I know they keep you so busy on duty at the space station. Tell us a little bit about what your normal day is like, and whether you have time to just look out the window and enjoy where you are.
Certainly, great question. So our normal day is just like any Earth day. We work off of Greenwich Mean Time in London. And I'm generally waking up around 6:30 in the morning, eat a breakfast. We don't really shower, but you wipe yourself down with a towel, and then you jump right into your workday around 7:30. Work about a 12-hour day, and we wrap up around 7:30 at night. Have a little bit of time before I head off to bed, and around 10:30, I'm usually lights out in my crew quarters, which is behind me. How do you steal peeks out the window? Well, if you had a view like this, you would take every opportunity to run down there and look outside. So if a procedure ends a little early or a science gets done and there's a little break, I'm down at the window looking out, and so are my crewmates.
Zero gravity or microgravity is probably old hat for you now, but is there anything you can demonstrate for us that you would not be able to do on Earth?
I'm not a very good athlete, and unfortunately I got Robonaut in the way, but basically any old maneuver up here is pretty simple when you take gravity out of the equation. And I've really enjoyed becoming an expert at tumbling, cartwheels, flips, handstands. All that stuff is really good.
We'll try that when you get back down to Earth. How many people are aboard the space station? And I mentioned that you took off in late May. How long do you stay up there for?
So we have a 6-month duration space flight here for the three of us, me, a Russian, and a German, who launched together in May. And we joined 3 other gentlemen who are already up here on the space station, 2 Russians and 1 American. So right now our crew complement is 6, and we're getting ready in about 5 weeks to send 3 of those folks home, and we'll get 3 new people up.
Are you noticing any physical impact of having been in near weightlessness for that long a period of time? And does it inform your thinking about the sort of preparation that's going to be needed for an eventual flight to Mars?
Oh, no doubt, absolutely no doubt about it. One thing that I can say is NASA has done a fantastic job building up our countermeasures and our workout regimen. So I'm on the treadmill quite a bit. We've got bungee cords that hold us down and provide, I weigh about 170 pounds, and they provide about 130 pounds of force for me. And then we also have a resistance device that allows us to do squats, bench press, things like that. And between these 2 systems, the treadmill and resistance, I'm able to keep my muscle mass and my bone density up pretty well. One thing that is interesting, like you see, I look like I'm standing right here, and that's just because my feet are locked into little locks on the floor. But the fronts of my legs, the muscles have changed pretty dramatically being up here just because I'm using my feet in different ways. And so I think with the countermeasures we have when we do a trip to Mars, it's going to require a lot of physical activity by the astronauts. But no doubt when we get there, I think you'll be in good enough shape to at least after a day or 2 of adjustment to Martian gravity, you'll be able to start working.
You've been been very busy on social media. People can follow you on Twitter at Astro_Reid, R-E-I-D. And I've looked at many of the pictures that you've posted. Could you talk a little about the mechanics of doing that? Also, if any particular images stand out, anything you've seen out the window that surprised you?
Remind me about the second half of this question in a minute. So I don't want to have to tell you all my secrets, but I will let you in on a little one. It is very tough to get on the internet itself up here. I can do it, but it really is difficult. So what I generally do, our email connectivity is fantastic. And I've got a gentleman on the ground who works at NASA, my right-hand man, the magician behind the Twitter magic. So I send him the images with the tweet captions, and he just fires them off on Twitter. And that really has worked. I'm actually the first U.S. astronaut that's had this ability, and I think that's really given us a great chance to connect on social media. So I owe NASA a huge thanks for that. And then what really... Every time you look out the window, there's some amazing sight that you didn't expect to see. Whether this morning we were flying over the east coast of the U.S., and I looked back from our cupola viewing area, and there on the east coast was Richmond through D.C., the I-95 corridor running up through Baltimore, Philly, up into Manhattan. And that was amazing. But then what really blew me away is I just shifted my glance a little bit upward, and there's Chicago, Detroit, and Toronto on the horizon. And then above that, you could see the aurora, the northern lights, with the sunrise just barely peeking in. And I'd say for at least the last little bit, I mean, that just blew me away. To see my hometown and this beauty was amazing.
You're a 1993 graduate of Delaney High School in Baltimore County. Could you talk a little about your path from Delaney to the space station?
Sure. I wasn't necessarily a straight-A student. I did well at Delaney. I left there, though, with a great set of tools. I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I really wanted to be a pilot. So I went up to New York, went to Rensselaer Polytechnic up there, and I pursued a degree in engineering. And that went very well. And then when I left RPI, I joined the Navy and became a Navy pilot. That career blossomed. I ended up becoming a test pilot in the Navy. And all of those little wickets lined up perfectly to fit what NASA was looking for. And in 2009, I shifted my focus, moved down to Houston, and 5 years later, I'm on the space station. So it's pretty much the dream career I'd always envisioned. I don't know how it came true.
Tell us about the space station itself. I guess it's mostly fully built out now, and we have some pictures of the exterior. From your camera, we just see this one compartment. So give us a sense of just how much space you have up there in space.
Well, the dimensions, I think everyone says they're about as big as a football field. That's our outer dimensions with our solar arrays. Inside, I'd say if you cleaned out about a 747, that's the room we have. Obviously, you can see here, it's not as big around as a 747, but it's long. And behind me, there's two modules that shoot off either side, a Japanese module and a European module. And then behind the camera, we have some more U.S. modules. And then farther behind the camera, we have the Russian half of the space station, which is almost as big as what you see here. So really, it's actually a gigantic volume. And where I'm standing right now, just so you know, this is the U.S. laboratory. So this is really the heart of the space station, and this is where the science goes on. I'm standing right here with Robonaut. We're working on some upgrades on him. I've got a German experiment running over here in a glove box. We've got a furnace here. We've got a really high-power microscope here. So right now, even though there's no people, this is just absolutely booming with science, even as we're talking here on the camera.
Reid, is there anything I failed to ask you or anything that you would like your family here in Maryland or your fellow graduates of Delaney High to know?
Life is great, and I really just wish everyone could come up here, even if it was just for a few hours, just come up to this viewing platform and look down at our Earth, look back on Maryland, and just see how tiny the Chesapeake Bay is. The first time I saw it, I didn't even recognize it until I looked at our map and I realized, wow, that is the Chesapeake. And this morning, I'm looking from the tip of Florida, Key West, all the way up through Maine in one glance. And it really just is so gorgeous. I really wish everybody had a chance, and everybody deserves that chance. So I hope someday everybody can come up and take a look.
Commander Wiseman, thank you very much. We'll take you up on that, and we'll do the next interview in person.
Hey, absolutely. That's a deal. Come on up and let's do it. I would love to have you.
This is Maryland.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
Thank you, WYPR and Maryland Public Television Station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.